Spanish authorities said that an advisor to former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych was shot dead outside a school in Madrid on Wednesday. According to Associated Press, Spain's Interior Ministry identified the victim as Andriy Portnov. Authorities said that he was shot at 9:15 a.m. local time. Portnov is a former Ukrainian politician closely tied to Yanukovych, having served as deputy head of the presidential office from 2010 to 2014. During Yanukovych's presidency, Portnov was widely viewed as a pro-Russia political figure and was involved in drafting legislation aimed at persecuting participants of the 2014 revolution in Ukraine.
License? Estamos en la actividad práctica de persona sujeta ahí, de brincar con el license? Estamos en la actividad práctica de persona sujeta ahí, de brincar con el
EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas said the Trump administration had insisted that there would be consequences should Russia fail to agree a ceasefire. According to Associated Press, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said he didn't want to comment on the phone call between the presidents of Russia and the USA, but he praised US President Donald Trump, saying he had started also to open lines of communication with the Russian president. But he warned it was no always possible in real life to get speedy results. So again, I think what the Americans are doing is very important. It's crucial that they consult with the Europeans, with Ukraine, and we have to take this step by step and let's see what happens this week and next week, Rutte said. Rutte said he was really glad that Trump had taken on a leadership role. He basically broke the deadlock from day one when he entered into office in January, and I really want to commend him for that, Rutte said.
Well, we all agreed and said, and we also heard statements from United States that, if they don't agree to unconditional ceasefire, like Ukraine has agreed over 60 days ago, there will be strong action. And that is what we want to see from all the parties who have said that they will act in accordance. Of course, on the European side, we have the statements of 27 that if Russia doesn't agree, then we will put more pressure, so we will continue with that. We heard from I think it was last week, when America said that, if Russia doesn't agree on, full and unconditional ceasefire, then there are going to be, consequences. So we want to see those consequences also from the U.S. side. We really haven't seen, the pressure on Russia from these talks.
So, good morning. Let me first of all say that I'm really glad that President Trump takes this leadership role. He basically broke the deadlock from day one when he entered into office in January. and I really want to commend her for that. And I do not want to give a running commentary on every development every day, but clearly the American administration is very much involved, closely coordinating with European colleagues, and of course Ukraine, and I think that is very positive. Well, clearly, till January, there were no discussions with the Russians. I think the positive thing is that President Trump has started also to open lines of communication with the Russian president. And of course, you hope for results as soon as possible, but that is not always possible in real life, because this is a complex conflict. So again, I think what the Americans are doing is very important. It's crucial that they consult with the Europeans, with Ukraine, and we have to take this step by step. Let's see what happens this week and next week.
European Union defense ministers cast doubt at the EU Foreign Affairs Council in Brussels Tuesday that Russian President Vladimir Putin has any intention to negotiate peace with Ukraine. According to Associated Press, speaking at the meeting, convened to discuss EU military support for Ukraine and defense readiness, Estonian Defense Minister Hanno Pevkur said Putin has never changed his position. His comments come following a phone call between Putin and US President Donald Trump. Russia actually doesn't want to end this war. They are still on the same track that they want to get at least these 4 regions plus Crimea, and they will not stop, Estonian Defense Minister Hanno Pevkur said. Swedish Defense Minister Pål Jonson echoed his sentiment. It seems quite obviously there's a lack of serious intent on the Russian side on actually engaging into negotiations, Pål Jonson said.
Well, it seems quite obviously there's a lack of serious intent on the Russian side on actually engaging into negotiations. Our position is very well known. We focus on supporting more defense equipment and more military support for Ukraine, so we can make sure that they can negotiate from a position of strength. That's what it's come down to. So we make sure we get a peace that is good for Ukraine and is long-term and lasting.
When you talk about the Putin-Trump call, well, it is important to understand that Putin has never changed his position. So this is the main understanding. He said that after the call repeatedly, and we see that Russia actually doesn't want to end this war. They are still on the same track that they want to get at least these 4 regions plus Crimea, and they will not stop.
The next package of sanctions must be hit increasingly in the core of the financial resources of Russia. So, of course, we know that gas and oil, but especially oil, is absolutely one of the main resource and source also of revenue. So that's why everything which undermines Russia's ability to obtain income revenues from oil, generally from its raw materials, must be preceded. So I think we already done quite a lot in this regard, but the shadow fleet still must be targeted. The secondary sanctions also could be invoked. So we've seen also that here absolutely still a space for maneuver, how we can impose sanctions, how we can constrain Russia's financial ability also to wage wars.